those brands and businesses that do best are the ones that stand for something and talk about the why, not the what.
Today I'm speaking with Brad Audet, CMO of Mazda North America. Ready to talk some cars?
Mazda, Japanese iconic company in Japan. Even the aftermath of World War II continues to influence even how the company looks at the world. Are there important differences in how the marketing strategy or actual creative is implemented in North America?
I think Mazda is very clear in what it stands for about enriching the lives of those we serve. And we deliver that through three kind of core values. One is about being radically human. One is our challenger spirit. And one is what we call omotenashi, which was really serving from the heart, treating everybody with empathy and being able to walk in their shoes in a very selfless kind of way. We fundamentally believe that we win by putting people at the center of everything we do as a company.
What are some things that you do that other brands would not do that is more aggressive or bold?
There's a couple layers to that idea, right? First off,
welcome to TOPCMO. I'm chatting with Brad Audet, CMO at Mazda North America. And Brad, one of the things that I know you characterize yourself as a business-minded CMO. What does that mean? And if some are business-minded, then it must mean that some CMOs are not as business-minded. So what does it mean to be a business-minded CMO?
Well, I think it's about having a holistic point of view across the entire business operation, just not what is necessarily specific to marketing. I think for a long time, CMOs were characterized by their ability to create the brand or to bring the voice of the customer to life or to have a particular creative expression about the brand or product or service that they're representing. But I think increasingly CMOs are becoming more and more accountable for overall business value and business growth, which requires you to have a much more holistic point of view about what actually drives your business. So I think about it when people say, well, what kind of CMO are you? I would say, well, I'm very much a business CMO, because I think our role in terms of serving all of our stakeholders in our ecosystem is really important. And it's not just any one person's job. It's about how you orchestrate the capabilities of the organization to get that desired result. So very much, a business CMO.
Well, and when you talk about stakeholders, I think you're the CMO of Mazda North America. That gives you kind of an interesting seat at the table with some different stakeholders. Let me name a few. One would be, of course, Mazda, Japanese iconic company in Japan. So there's like kind of the global headquarters, which is very much a Japanese company. And I know you and I have chatted before about how even the aftermath of World War II continues to influence even how the company looks at the world, and that's one stakeholder. On the other side, you have North America local dealers, and you've characterized it before as very much a partnership with local dealers. So those are two types of stakeholders that not every business necessarily has. You have it. So how do you think about that in a holistic point of view, a business point of view, but having to make sure you're working in lockstep with those two, very different stakeholder entities?
Well, I think if the way that we look at stakeholders overall is we would say our employees are stakeholders, which would also include our colleagues in Japan, in Hiroshima, at our headquarters. Would also include all of our dealers are very much stakeholders, as well as our customers and all of the partners and communities that we serve. Those are all stakeholders. And, our aim is to provide enriching experiences for all of those stakeholders. So I think Mazda is very clear in what it stands for about enriching the lives of those we serve. And, that's why we exist as a company. And we deliver that through three kind of core values. One is about being radically human. One is our challenger spirit. And one is what we call omotenashi, which was really, I would say, best described in the Western way as serving from the heart, treating everybody with empathy and being able to walk in their shoes in a very selfless kind of way. So I think when it comes to, interfacing and managing and collaborating with our colleagues at MC, we very much share that common spirit. And we understand the importance of the U.S. market to Mazda's global success. So we're very good in that regard. When it comes to the U.S., I mean, we fundamentally believe.
Well, I was going to jump in for the U.S. market. Like, how much leeway in marketing are you given to personalize it to the U.S. market or personalize North America and say, hey, this is different? Or does it kind of emanate from global and it's meant to amplify? Or are there important differences in how the marketing strategy or actual creative is implemented in North America?
Well, no, I mean, we have principles of who we are in terms of what our brand stands for, from a characteristic standpoint, from a style standpoint that we adopt globally. But we very much, as a company, allow the local regions like the U.S. or North America to create their own interpretation of that, because you have to be surgical and you have to be specific to the customers that you're serving in that market. And customers in every region that Mazda do business, and I think we do business in 148 countries, they all have to share some common truths, and that is around, our purpose and our promise of uplifting people and our values. We're all guided by those same common principles and behaviors and desired outcomes. The execution of it, though, manifests itself differently in each one of those markets. So we have a fair amount of latitude to do what's necessary to hit our goals. Going back to the dealer piece for a second, and the last question, one of the things I think is really important is, when we talk about radically human as a company, as a value, we fundamentally believe that we win by putting people at the center of everything we do as a company. And that includes our dealers. And we believe that our dealers are a very valuable resource to us in a very dynamic, changing automotive landscape, right? So we've put a lot of bets on our dealers where I think maybe other manufacturers have taken a different point of view. And we very much believe that we're successful in partnership with our dealers. So, when it comes to marketing and it comes to how we manage our business, we do it very much collaboratively, and we share in that responsibility and then that coordination as it relates to how we go to market as a brand and how we add value to not only our customers, but all of our stakeholders.
Well, and so how would that be different if the sort of the marketing experience of a Mazda dealer with someone else, another car company's dealership, how is it different? Is it I'm guessing here, but at some automotive, you get like a pot of money that's your kind of money, that's advertising that comes from corporate, and it's like, okay, go forth and do with it. And this is more of a collaborative, how we're going to do it together. Is it that, dealers have more, I don't know, governance or skin in the game, or it's co-created, or how is it different than if it was just, I don't know.
In the industry, there's a layer between, let's say, the manufacturer and the dealer, which is referenced to as tier 2, which is regional money, which is shared money. We abolished that in our ecosystem, and it's either all the dealer's money of which we contribute to, or it's our money. But I don't think the funding sources of them is as important as the alignment, the strategic alignment around how we manage the customer journey and the customer experience. And so in that regard, we are very aligned in creating a unified single point of view for the brand, regardless of who funds it, if the dealer funds it or if Mazda funds it. I'm not sure that that the industry overall has that same level of alignment, but we believe that as a challenger brand in a very competitive automotive space, that actually is an opportunity for us.
How does, at the corporate level, how do you think about it, where you say, radically human, yet the corporation doesn't interact with the customers as much as the dealers do? So you, to a certain extent, rely on the dealers to have that interaction and to bring forth those values or that experience. How does that emanate, and how do you think of that as CMO, so that, dealers in Ohio or Illinois or Arizona or, Maine, across the US or across North America into Canada too, deliver a similar experience that's up to your standards, even though there might be small ones, big ones, some that have big budgets, some that have smaller budgets? How do you think about delivering?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple layers to that idea, right? First off, I think the dealers have been very receptive, supportive, and embrace what we stand for as a company, why we exist, our purpose, our promise, and our values. They are very much aligned with that. And I would say that, while the dealer is the primary interface to the customer, there are a number of other areas that have to work equally as well to allow that dynamic between the dealer and the customer to exist at the highest and best level, right? So that's why we think about all of our stakeholders holistically, whether it's the type of environment that we provide for our employees, the type of demand that we create through our product design and engineering, which is very customer focused. There's a lot of different things, whether it's the ownership experience that we collaborate with in our dealers. Now, over the course of the last 5 to 6 years, we've gone through a process where we have built all new stores across our dealer network. So we have about 380 dealers out of our 550 that probably represent around 80% of our sales that have a new building facility program called Retail Evolution. And that new building footprint, I think, is a much more premium, customer-centric type of environment. And what we see is in those environments, not only do we have higher dealership personnel satisfaction, but we also have higher customer satisfaction with the brand overall. So the dealers have done a very good job in embracing Mazda's opportunity in the marketplace, embracing Mazda's uniqueness, and unifying with us to develop a coordinated plan to treat all of our stakeholders very richly. And so I think it's an area where you can always kind of improve. But from our standpoint, customer experience is really where I think you're going to win in the future. I mean, all cars are becoming better quality, better crafted, have similar safety. So how you, the kind of experience that you provide, what you stand for, and how you treat the people you serve, I think is really going to be how you win in the future.
Well, and take me through, I mean, you've mentioned a couple times, Mazda is a challenger brand. And when I think of, kind of like incumbent versus challenger brands, I think of a classic examples like, Coke versus Pepsi, right? Coke is the incumbent. Pepsi is the challenger brand. So Pepsi does some stuff that Coke would not do. For instance, when the Super Bowl was in Atlanta, Pepsi bought every billboard in Atlanta just to stick it to Coke in their hometown, that we're going to be everywhere. And that's something a challenger brand would do. So what are when you define yourself as a challenger brand, what are some things that you do that other brands would not do that is more aggressive or bold or challenging? What does it mean to be a challenger brand?
Well, I don't want to give away all of the trade secrets there and what we do.
Oh, please do. We do it all the time.
And
just our friends listening.
And how we win. But I think, from our standpoint, if you think about where we sit in the automotive landscape, I think there's like 38 different, manufacturer nameplates right now, probably 380, 390 different nameplates available to customers in the marketplace. And, we're one of a few brands that actually had year over year sales growth 3 years in a row, during the pandemic. And so I think what has helped contribute to that and can continue to propel us forward is very much about staying true to who we are and what we believe in. And as I said, putting people at the center of everything we do. So we're not going to be the type of marketer that's going to go out and spend a lot of money on mass reach television advertising. We're going to do things where maybe we take care of a community like educators or healthcare workers during a time of need when they're helping us. So during the pandemic, we did a number of programs where we provided free oil changes and deep car cleaning and things, sanitation, things of those natures, to take care of those people at a time when they didn't have the opportunity to take care of themselves because they were taking care of us. And certainly our dealers are pillars in their community when it comes to community engagement and activation, right? Probably some of the most generous entrepreneurs in the market in terms of taking care of their community. So community focus, I think, is one of the areas that we focus on from a challenger perspective, because I think we fundamentally believe that, if you take care of others, you'll win. And that's why we put people at the center of everything we do.
And when I think of challenger brands in the automotive industry, I mean, the one over the past few years that comes to mind is Tesla. It's interesting to think, Elon Musk is many things. People think of him as an entrepreneur, a very polarizing now political figure almost, owner of Twitter or X, many things. But people often don't think of him as a marketer, of course, which, he is. He's doing a lot to drive, discussion about Tesla. How, as your perspective, as a leader in marketing in the automotive industry, how has Tesla and Elon Musk kind of like caused everyone to rethink things, put on their toes, think about marketing? What has been the effect on the industry?
Well, I think it's created a belief, amongst, let's say, the executive community at many automotive manufacturers that you can do extraordinary things and create a lot of demand without spending the marketing money that you've historically spent. I think, everyone has kind of tried to gravitate towards a non-mass media approach and really focused on, owned and earned. But I think what we're seeing is that in a highly complex, mature market, there's very much a role for advertising, marketing, demand kind of generation activities. If you look at someone like Tesla and you look at their success, I mean, how do you separate the role of Elon Musk in that versus the role of Tesla and the fundamentals of that company? And they'd say, well, we won on word of mouth. Well, they also were first to market with an extraordinary product, and they had a very vocal founder. And so if you're a mature business, let's say, that's been around for 100 years and has sold cars during that entire period, do you have the same fundamentals? And so I think it's kind of an apples and oranges comparison a lot. But the reality is I'm certain that we'll see Tesla start to advertise if they haven't already.
Okay, sure. Well, and how do you, I think your background is interesting because you come from, the agency side, WPP, which is one of the, the huge agency conglomerates that own all types of, own many big agencies in their own right, into one kind of massive holding company of advertising and marketing agencies. You also come from heading up really what you see at a lot of, for really big clients, which is like bespoke agencies created for the client, which was called Garage Team Mazda. And you headed that up. And so how does that, inform your role now and making the jump from the agency side to the client side? There's other CMOs listening who have made that jump or considering the jump. How does that just kind of inform you now, having seen the business for a lot of years, but not internal to Mazda before?
Well, I think when I was on the outside looking in, I was eager to drive a lot of change that I couldn't actually drive from the outside in, right? Because I just didn't have enough influence across the key people to drive that change. So coming into Mazda and now working as part of Mazda, I think we can drive change much faster. I think the other thing is that, you come into this job with a different understanding on how to get the maximum value out of the agency. And I told this story a while ago to some folks. When I was at the agency, I spent, virtually 90 to 100% of my time thinking about Mazda all day long, right? I come over to Mazda as the CMO and I only think about the agency and what the agency is doing. It's probably only 10% of my share of mine and what I need to do in my job here, right? And I think that there's a gap there, and having the ability to understand both environments allows us to kind of manage that gap the most effectively, which then generates better outcomes for Mazda's business overall.
What is your feeling on sort of bespoke agencies set up for one client, and why was there a move away from that for Mazda?
Well, I think there are different agency models for different types of clients in different situations, and I think for where Mazda was 10 years ago when we first brought WPP on, the team model was the right model. I think a lot has changed in our industry and the communications industry with customers' expectations over that 10-year period that necessitate a fresh look at the capability design. While I think that there's a lot of advantages to a bespoke team model, there's also some risks with that. And I think part of what we've tried to create in our new agency model with WPP is bringing in more people that have, visibility, experience, or access of, problem solving across a wide variety of clients. And I think in an environment where technology and data, the impact on the business is so transformative, happening so fast, it's important to have a wide and diverse spectrum of experience on the business. And so
a broader experience set than, say, automotive sector. You'd want to see, if you are like technology sector, other things. Is that what you mean, or do you mean something different?
Yeah. So I'll give you, with some of the work that we're doing with WPP right now, and our three agencies at WPP are VML, now consolidated with Wunderman Thompson, Mindshare, and H&K. I would say the majority of the team probably isn't automotive specific in their experience, and I think that's a good thing. In fact, we have folks on the team from QSR. We have folks on the team from tech that have worked primarily in technology sectors, and I think they all bring a different perspective. And if you look at the automotive space, I think we're moving from an environment where we were primarily designed around manufacturing to now where we're becoming more designed around service. And I think when you look at electrification and you look at the role of technology in the automotive ownership experience, it really creates a greater service orientation. And I think you're seeing that with, connected vehicle and different subscription plans and different, service plans. So the skill sets that you need to navigate based on the things that you need to influence are changing, not only in the types of people that we need to hire and outside experts, but also in terms of how we transform our internal capabilities to better align with what the future state is going to be versus where we came from, which was a much more kind of mass media centric approach.
In terms of your marketing capabilities, where are you trying to innovate? Where are you trying to do things in a new or different way, a better way? Then maybe you did it a few years back.
Well, I think that, the role of data and technology and how it influences experience design. Every touch point on the customer journey is an opportunity to create an extraordinary experience, but you can only do that if you can anticipate the specific needs of that individual. And so I think we spend a lot of time innovating in that space, trying to just enhance our overall conversion, right? And so I think everyone kind of talks about or had talked about in the past about kind of one-to-one marketing, but it was really one-to-many. And I think when we think about experience design, whether it's physical contact, whether it's communications, one size fits one is the way that we kind of look at that. And you've probably heard one size fits one before from Will Guidara, who was, famous for 11 Madison and in his book, Extraordinary Hospitality. But I think that there's a truth in that when you think about how are you serving the individual, which ladders right to what we want to be from a radically human standpoint in our behavior that we exhibit, and the way that we treat people through omotenashi. That kind of infuses into everything that we do.
Did the pandemic and the effect on people's patterns in shopping and online consumption, and whether they're walking into dealerships or not, what is the lasting impact of that on marketing in the industry now that we're, post-pandemic? What did it accelerate? What did it change?
Well, I think the pandemic, accelerated certain service offerings like pickup and delivery on service, or a home delivery of your vehicle. Certainly online shopping saw a pretty dramatic acceleration in engagement during that time frame. I think it's kind of settled down a little bit. I think cars are still something that people have a very strong emotional draw to, and they need to feel it and see it and touch it and kind of experience it. But, there have been, I think, fundamental changes in the way that customers shop for vehicles. And I think what we see all the time is, customers are going to less and less dealerships, and they're making their decisions sooner and primarily digitally. So we have to be able to offer the same kind of enriching experience in the digital environment as we offer in the physical dealership environment. So I think those kinds of things are here to stay. And I think, customers are increasingly, and, they're always looking for more convenience and way to get more value out of their life. And I think there's a lot of consumers that are looking for, quality of time, and they make their decisions based on what are those companies and brands that are going to provide them a better quality of time, because there is no more time to be given back.
Well, and what other car manufacturers have marketing that you really admire? Who do you look to as either a good benchmark for you and how you're doing, or an innovator or someone else that to be observed or analyzed?
Well, I would say as an industry, I don't think that the automotive category has done as good a job as it probably can as a category overall, in doing really compelling and impactful marketing and creative. And I think if you just look at the FEs and automotive performance at Cannes, you would see that there's a lot of opportunity for us to do better work. And I think, the best work in the market is done by those brands that have a strong sense of who they are and stay committed and consistent to a particular mission. I think, for a lot of brands, and particularly in the automotive space, there's a lot of people that have influence on the work as it goes through the system. And sometimes it doesn't always result in the best work.
So you would say then that sort of consistency and understanding your true purpose, your true North Star, would be something to aspire to if you're in the automotive industry. And
maybe to say it in a different way. I think as an automotive industry, we still collectively believe and behave and such that customers care about the features and benefits that are on a product. And we spend a lot of time talking about those features and benefits, even though they're largely commodities and they've been commoditized. And the reality is I think those brands and businesses that do best are the ones that stand for something and talk about the why, not the what. And I think those are the brands that are seeing success and will continue to see success moving forward.
Well, and finally, how do you think about your own career, your own career path now, and what you advise to others, the skill sets you've accumulated, and what the future generations of CMOs will need? What do you take from all of that and your journey to get to this point, and what do you advise others that are maybe a few years away from a CMO type role?
Well, I think for me personally, it took me a long time to really recognize the importance of people and the dynamic. I think a lot of times as you're striving through your career, you're very much focused on the outcome, the achievement, right? The destination versus the journey to get there. And I think, my advice to a lot of younger people is to spend more time appreciating and understanding the journey that you're on, because sometimes the journey is actually more important than the outcome. And so I think that gets back to the idea of, putting people at the center of everything you do. I think the other thing for me is in our job and in a dramatically kind of, dramatically changing environment, it's easy to maybe be cautious or afraid of the fog that's in front of you, the uncertainty of where the industry is going to go, the impact of IA, the impact of other technologies. And that can create stagnation, I think, at some points in time. So I think, moving forward and making progress is probably the most important thing. And you're going to make mistakes along the way. And that's okay. But you can't stop making progress.
Well, and I think there's, two ways to maybe move forward towards a difficult goal. One is to, plan really, really well, get all your ducks in a row and sort of, give it that one shot. The other way is you make a whole bunch of little decisions and you course correct. It's a little bit more like software development, right? 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. And sometimes the latter can get you to the destination faster than if you tried to get it perfect. And you're never going to get it perfect. You might just take action, learn, and course correct. And maybe that gets you there faster in the end.
Yeah, and I think, the other thing is as we evolve through our careers, I think you learn over time that the majority of stuff that you interface with or problems that you confront are not nearly as bad as you may construct them in your mind or that you believe them to be. And, I'm certain we all had some type of conflict last week, last month, last year that we've already forgotten. But at that particular time, we had a lot of stress about it. And so, one of the things I think I've learned and, that I try to share with our team is that you end up working through all of these things, right? And you might have some momentary discomfort. But as long as you stay kind of optimistic and you think about the bigger picture and where you're trying to go, all of that other kind of noise that has kind of a way or a tendency of weighing you down just dissipates.
According to Brad Audet, the fast-paced marketing race has required the CMO role to evolve and change. As marketers, we're now responsible not just for marketing itself, but also for overall business objectives. That's why we need a holistic view of the entire business operation. In Brad's Mazda world, the CMO is like the pit crew chief, working in tandem and facilitating communication and strategic direction with internal teams, external agencies, dealerships, global headquarters, and other stakeholders. So gaining experience outside of the automotive industry will help you solve problems within it. Give more autonomy to other stakeholders, but make your brand principles clear and strong so everyone has the same North Star. If in doubt, keep learning, keep iterating, and keep the pedal to the metal. For TOPCMO, I'm Ben Kaplan.